We are going to start with the album cover for the school album, and I have already done some cutting and I got some things ready off screen. So let me just tell you what you'll need to cut to get started for the cover. The chipboard pieces, 2 of them, and they're going to measure at 6 1/4 by 8 1/4, 2 that are 2 1/2 by 6 1/4, and 1 that is 2 by 6 1/4. And the reason for that is I want the base just a little bit bigger, and then I want it to come up a little bit narrower to the top, just to kind of give the appearance or the illusion of maybe a backpack. So that's why there's 3 different sizes for the chipboard. Now the cardstock then is going to be 2 of them that are 8 1/4 by 10 1/4. That's to cover our large front and back. 1 of them is going to be 5 1/2 by 8 1/4, and that's for our bottom piece. 1 of them is at 5 by 8 1/4. That's the top piece. And then the flap that's going to go over the front is 4 1/2 by 8 1/4. Okay, so this side is cardstock and this side is chipboard. So let me show you. So you're going to want to have paper and pencil nearby, because I don't type up the measurements in the description box, just as a time saver for me. So if you watch this through, you might just want to jot things down as we go, or take screenshots or something. So we are going to wrap our pieces that are 6 1/4 by 8 1/4. We're going to wrap them on all 4 sides so it looks like this when we're done. So I went ahead and did 1. Those of you who are familiar with making album covers may want to fast forward this part and go to the pages if you want. So I'm going to show you how I do this. This is going to be wrapped on 4 sides. So I'm going to bring up my chipboard and I bring it up and over so that I can do a little bit of a burnish on the cardstock, just so it kind of gets a fold, so it knows where to have that score basically. Now this is, I am using the the lay flat method. There's other ways you can do your cover. You do what's comfortable for you if you just want to take these measurements. So I'm going to go ahead and place 1/4 inch score tape around the perimeter of my chipboard. I still like to use the score tape, even though I do use the art glitter glue also. I just like to make sure that my cover is real sturdy and strong and that the paper adheres real well. When I adhered this chipboard to the black paper, there's a 1 inch border on all the sides. And so I also had score sheets on one side. So that's the adhesive I used. It had full coverage, okay? So when I lay it down, I actually have these spacers from Country Craft Creations. And it's real handy because I just lay a 1 inch piece at the top and 1 at the side, and then I just lay my chipboard down, so that's how I get my 1 inch border on all the sides. Now I actually do miter my corners at an angle here. Like I said, there are other ways of doing this, so you do the way that you feel comfortable with. I just use this tool to help me get enough around the corner so that it covers that chipboard, so you don't go all the way to the corner. I do have a little bit of about 1/8 of an inch there on the corner of the chipboard, so it doesn't show. Okay, now once I have those corners cut off, I'm going to go ahead and put score tape on the perimeter of the cardstock also. I do it after I cut it, just to kind of save a little score tape, even though it's not much. Pinching pennies over here. Okay. So the first thing I do when I get an album cover started is I cut all my chipboard, I cut all my cardstock, and then I put score tape on the back on one side of all my chipboard. So it's kind of like an assembly line. I always burnish the score tape on real well so it doesn't lift when I take the backing off. I usually do my long sides first, just no particular reason, but I'm going to take off the backing on the bottom of the chipboard and the side pieces. I say the sides, but actually my book is going to be like this, not like this, but I should have said long side. And I'm going to put my wet adhesive right up against the chipboard so that when I fold my paper over, it has a nice seal, I guess, and it's going to be nice and smooth. I'm going to take this off now. And I'm going to bring that up and over, and I just want to smooth it out. You don't want any kind of bumps or ripples. You like a nice smooth edge here, or not just edge, but I don't want anything to be rippled or bumped there, crinkled, anything. And then I do take my tool here and I just go along the edge where that's why I put the glue up against the chipboard, and I just smooth it out so it's got a real smooth edge. And then I work on the opposite side. Glue up against the chipboard, and then I fill some in between my score tape and the chipboard. Okay, up and over. I usually kind of start by pushing it down in the middle and then just kind of fanning out my hands on the side here just to make sure it's flat. Take my burnishing tool. This is a Teflon burnishing tool. And then again, go straight across that edge and it'll be nice and smooth. When I do the opposite ends now, because I mitered my corners the way I did, I have a little excess that I need to tuck in. So I want it to go around the chipboard, so I kind of push it in and down with my bone folder here, and it covers the corner. And I'll just go ahead and do all 4 of those now, down and in. Push in. Okay, and then we just do it like the other sides. This method of making the album, I think, goes a little bit faster. It's a little bit easier because you're not using such a long piece of paper and gluing the papers together. And I want those to lay down. I like the looks of the angle here too, but you don't really see it after you cover it, so I guess it shouldn't make that much difference, but we all have our own technique and style that we like. Last side. Keep those corners down. Give it a good burnish and smooth out that edge. So there are actually going to be 3 pieces that you wrap all 4 sides, okay? So those, this is my 6 1/4 by 8 1/4 inch pieces, and so I used my 8 1/4 by 10 1/4 inch papers. But I also took one of my 2 1/2 by 6 1/4 inch pieces of chipboard, and then I took the piece that was 4 1/2 by 8 1/4. So I took one of them that was the chipboard that was 2 1/2 by 6 1/4, and I took my cardstock that was 4 1/2 by 8 1/4, and I wrapped that one on all 4 sides too. So this is actually going to be the front. It'll end up being over like so, okay? And then now I'll do the end. So you're going to have a piece at the top and a piece at the bottom. The larger one is the bottom, so the 2 1/2 inch piece at the bottom. And a 2 inch piece at the top. So let me show you. I've already done one. This is the 2 1/2 inch piece that's going to be at the bottom of my album. Okay. So that'll be the 2 1/2 is at the bottom. and you want wings, see, so that you can attach it. So I'm going to show you how to do that with the 2-inch piece. Okay, now when you use these pieces as connectors, you want 1.5 inches on either side, so it just has a stronger grip maybe on the when you connect it to the base, the front and back. So I have 1.5 inches at the top and 1 inch at the side. These are my connecting pieces. Okay, I already had the adhesive on the back. Like I said, I do it like an assembly line. So these we do different because you only are going to fold over these short ends, but I'm still going to go around and give my paper a burnish here on all 4 sides. Okay, so we want to get rid of some bulk. So we have a rectangle in the 4 corners. We're going to cut all those at a diagonal. So we're basically taking off a triangle like so. And we're going to do that on all 4 corners. So you're going to do this on the 2-inch piece and one of the 2.5-inch pieces. Okay, so I still put a little bit of score tape. I'm going to put some on the short ends, and I just put a little bit here on the end of the cardstock. Burnish that backing down so that the tape stays on when you remove it. All right, so what I'm going to do then is I'm going to take, ooh, ouch, the backing off. Where did I put my, there it is. On both pieces here on the end. I'm going to go ahead and place my glue up against the chipboard. I'm also going to put about 1/2 inch worth on the sides here, and then I fill in this whole section in between the chipboard and the score tape here, so it basically is a trapezoid. And then I'm going to bring that up and over, and I want to tuck this up against the chipboard and burnish it. Get rid of any of the excess glue. I give it a real firm burnish. Okay, let's do that on the other side too. I want that paper right up against the chipboard. And I will go ahead and burnish that end so it's smooth. Let's repeat that process. So for those of you who are new to my channel or you're not followers on Scrapbookers of Country Craft Creations, the owner is the one who came up with this method to help some women who were at one of her retreats. They had, I think, arthritis in their hands, and they were finding it hard to work with that long piece of paper the way I used to make my album covers. I still kind of do sometimes, actually, when I use lightweight chipboard. But so this method she felt would be easier on the old hands and make it easier for people who have some sort of challenge with their hands. Okay. And let's go ahead and wrap this one. And always do the edge. Now, if we left it just like this, you might have some, you might be, if you didn't line things up just right, you might see a little bit of paper on the overhang. So what we do is we're going to miter, and you just rest your scissors up against your chipboard and cut at a slight angle, like so. On all four ends here. So there's my slight tapering. Now those wing pieces that have the 1.5 inch wings, these are connecting pieces, and we're going to be laying a piece of chipboard on top. So we need to take our burnishing tool, this is my bone folder, and you're going to rub the paper right up against the chipboard. So you'll see an indentation. I'm using artisan cardstock, so it's strong. If you're not using a high quality paper like this, you're going to have to be careful. You don't want anything to rip. Okay. And I just smooth it out. Like I said, you're going to see a definite ridge, like so. Okay. Now the reason why we do that then is so that we can rest this right up against here. So we're going to do some connecting here. So I'm going to start with my main front and back cover. So grab your large pieces, and we're going to start with our 2.5 inch. Remember, I did this one off camera. This is the 2.5 by 6 1/4 inch piece. Okay. And our book is actually going to be joined like this, and it's going to fold up. Okay. Now, some people do put it, you can do it different ways. I want this wing to be on the inside with that raw piece. So I'm going to flip these upside down, and I'm going to flip this upside down. And I just want to kind of do a quick check to make sure that they line up well. And they do. Okay, so to prepare the wings, I use both score tape and the art glitter glue. This is the 1/4 inch score tape, and I usually put about 3 pieces on. And when I put it on, I do not go all the way to the chipboard. I leave a space. And let's do it on both sides. I just think it's stronger this way. I could be wrong. Maybe some people do just use all glue, and that's okay too. Okay, I'm going to remove the backing of one side. Now, some people go all the way to the chipboard with the covers. Some people leave a little bit of a space. I've done it both ways. This time I think I'll use just a hair of a space. So I am going to put some glue in here just to kind of help give it some strength and some wiggle room if I need to move it around. So I do put a slight amount of art glitter glue on the edge here of my score tape, but it's still not right up against the chipboard. Okay, I'm going to bump this up here. Okay, oh, I got glue. It's almost exactly to the chipboard. It's just a hair of a space, just a hair. And we want to give it a good burnish. And I'm going to flip it over and burnish it on this side. Now, with that 1.5 inch wing, then we covered up that 1 inch piece that was just like this on the other end, and that way it's just kind of a smoother edge. Okay. And we're going to do the same thing on the other side. Now, art glitter glue does dry clear. I see a little glue in there, but it'll dry clear. I'm going to remove the backing of this one also. you have any overhang of the tape, you're going to want to push it over the corner here. Okay. And just a small amount here. And I'm going to line that up, leave almost to the chipboard, just a hair off. Give it a good press. And then I'm going to flip it over and burnish it more. Okay. So it'll be like this. Okay, so now we have our 2-inch piece, and we're going to do the same thing. We're just going to put it on one end, and then we're going to attach a 2.5-inch piece to the end here, okay? So I will put my tape just like I did on the other one. These are 1.5-inch wings, so I'll put on 3 pieces of 1/4-inch score tape. Again, I don't go all the way to the chipboard, I leave a space. My goal is to make this look like a backpack, kind of. Not exactly, but to give the illusion of one. I've seen people make like backpacks for little boxes and stuff that are super cute. I want the album to kind of look like a backpack. Okay, let's go ahead and remove the backing of one side. Make sure if you have any overhang, you bring it over. Fill in with your art glitter glue. And just a small amount here, because it will spread out. Does not matter which side. This is one of our covers. So I'm just gonna lay that down almost exactly to the chipboard. Okay. And we just have to attach one more piece. And that is our 2.5-inch flap. That'll go right here. Okay. So rinse and repeat. Here we go. My glue. This is pretty long once you get all the pieces together. Give it a good burnish. Okay. Now, I do like to cover my chipboard hinge spine pieces. So I want to cover this one here, and I want to cover this one here. So if my book is 6 1/4, might be easier to look at it this way. If it's 6 1/4 wide, I'm going to go 6 and 3, what's wrong with my brain? 8, what the heck? 1/8, is it 1/8 I want? I want it to be 1/8 of an inch smaller. Yeah, so I'm going to I'm going to cut a piece of black paper that is 6 1/8. And I do want it to cover this so that everything lays smooth. So right now, from this paper to this paper, it's about 5 1/2. So I'm going to go 6, okay? I'm going to go 6 inches wide and 6 1/8. And then this one will be 6 1/8 by, let's do 5 1/2. Let's do 5 3/4. Okay, 6 1/8 by 5 3/4. Now I do use score tape on the back of my cardstock when I lay those down so that they're nice and smooth. So I'm going to lay one here and I'm going to lay one here. And then we'll be ready to start looking at adding pages and spines and all that. So this is how the book will look. Okay, so I did want the bottom a little bit bigger. All right, so I got a little bit of a ripple there. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and cover those and then I'll be back. Let's do the hinge next. This is 6 by 5 1/2, and actually it's 6, but I shaved just like a smidge, like hardly anything, but just a smidge off of the 6. So it's more like 5 5/16. We are going to go ahead, and it was 5 1/2 wide. So you're going to place the 5 1/2 inches across the top here and just score it every 1/2 inch until you get to 4 3/4. So 1/2, 1, 1 1/2, 2, 2 1/2, 3, 3 1/2, 4, 4 1/2. I said 4 3/4. I didn't mean to. And then we're going to make our hinges by putting 2 pieces together, the 2 rectangles at the end. We're going to glue those together. The third one will be our gusset. Then I'm going to take the 4th and 5th one, glue those together. 6th one is a gusset. 7th and 8th one together, then gusset, and then the last 2 go together, and those are our hinges. Now, if we do it correctly, let me just double check. Yep, this should be no problem fitting on our book. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to use the wet glue. I used to use score tape, but not anymore. Okay, just put some glue inside of where the 2 pieces are joining together. And I'm just going to kind of squeeze it together. Have a dry wipe handy. And just burnish it together real well. Okay. So there's our first hinge. Then I'm going to go ahead now and do the second hinge. Pinch them together. And I'll just lay it down flat and get rid of any excess glue. Okay, third one. Pinch. Lay it down flat. Give it a good burnish, and then we just have one left. Now, well, let me do this and then I'll tell you. Let me put the last bit of glue on here. Okay, So on the end pieces, you want to make sure that this doesn't hang over more than the other side. So you might want to, on the very first rectangle and the very last rectangle, just shave a hair off so that when you lay it on your book, it lays down flat and you don't have any overhang. That's going to be the easiest, I think. And just kind of give it a burnish back and forth so that the pages will turn nice. So on our book, we're going to center it top and bottom and side to side. Okay, let me just lift this. Yeah, our book is 6 1/4, well, it'll be high. And this is just a hair shorter than 6, so should be just fine. I'm going to place a lot of glue on here. I don't want it coming off my book. I'd rather do too much than not enough. Okay. I don't do the wings. I used to do that too. I would leave some sides on either side of the front, the first hinge and this last one, but I don't do that anymore either. Not necessary. All right, so I'm just gonna lay this down. I'm gonna push these two sides in just to kind of make sure that I have the same amount of space. And it looks pretty good. I'm going to just rub my fingers in between in the gussets, and then I'm going to get my wet wipe and get rid of any extra that's coming out. And then I'm just going to continue to burnish that real well. We want those in and not to go anywhere. Okay. All right. Now, before I do the pages, I think I'm going to go ahead and place paper on this one. I still don't know what I'm doing on this side. So, yeah, I'm just going to do paper. Okay, so I'm going to get my pattern paper, and my book is 8, so it'll be 7 7/8 long, and I'm going to do 5 and no, I forgot that it's 6 1/4. It'll be 6 1/8 wide here. 6 1/8 by 7 7/8, and that's for both pieces. So I'll find the paper I want to do that. If you want to get your pages ready, there are 4 pages to go on the hinges. So you're going to need 4 that measure, let me show you, I wrote it down. 4 that measure 6 by 7 1/2 and 4 that measure 6 by 7. And we're going to take that 6 by 7 1/2, and on each one of those, we're going to score with the 7 1/2 inches across the top, and we're going to score it at 1/2. So all I did was I placed it on my scoreboard with the 7 1/2 inches, and I scored it 1/2. I did slightly taper on that 1/2 inch, gave it a good burnish. You want to take your 6 by 7 piece and just make sure that it lines up nice and that you don't have any trimming that you need to do. And we'll put glue on the 1/2 inch flap. We're going to do this, remember, 4 times because there's 4 pages. And we just want to lay that on there. And I use my hands as a guide to make sure it's on right. And I'm going to open it and burnish some more. Okay, so do that to all 4 pieces. And what we're going to end up doing is attaching these to our hinge, like so. Okay, but let me go ahead and find the paper I want to put here first. I'm also going to, so our book is actually we're gonna look at it like this, because it's gonna look like a backpack, or kind of. And then when I open it, it's gonna open like this. I don't really like looking at books that fold open like this, so I'm gonna go ahead and turn it then sideways to look at the pictures. Okay. All right. You know what? I'll just go ahead and put these in with you right now while I'm doing it. So I'm going to do my last page first. I'm going to open up my page and I'm going to lay the hinge down. And I want to make sure that I look at the bottom and the top to make sure, and it's not, that it's even. I think that's good. Okay, so then I'm going to hold this and I'm going to not move it, and I'm going to put glue on the hinge on one side. And I'm going to place it down. Okay, and then we're going to put glue on the top and then lay it down. Now you have to decide, do you want the top open? And if you do, then you're not going to put any glue up here. But we are going to put glue down here to seal it shut, okay? If you're not going to put any kind of insert in the top, you can glue the top also. So what I'll do is I'll just put some glue here. And along the bottom. Okay. And as always, burnish. Get rid of any excess glue. And then every page we put on, then we're going to make sure it lines up with the page below it. So we'll do one more together. I'm going to open it up. I'm going to put the hinge inside of the page, and I'm going to line this up with the page below. Like so. I think that looks good. So I'm going to hold this down so it doesn't move, but I got it in the right spot. Put my glue on the hinge. Fold it over. Give it a good burnish. And let's go ahead and seal it closed. We'll put glue on the hinge and along the bottom. All right, so we're going to do the other 2 pages the same exact way. Okay. Looks good. All right, 2 more. And then I have to take some time to decide how I want to do the pages. I haven't figured that out yet. I'm one of those people who designs as I go. So I'm going to go ahead and finish putting these 2 pages in. I'll probably put in the cardstock or the pattern paper here, and on the inside here, I just go 1/8 of an inch shorter and 1/8 of an inch on all 4 sides. I do 1/8 of an inch shorter. So if it's 8 inches, I'm doing 7 7/8. If it's 6 1/4, I'm doing 6 1/8. Okay. I figured it'd be smarter to do my paper before I did the pattern paper. So I kind of did some thinking off camera. Here we go. Front cover. On the inside, you're gonna need one that's 6 1/4 by 6 and one that's 7 1/4 by 4 1/2. And all I did was I took this book's gonna have quite a few magnets, I think. I took the piece that was 6 1/4 by 6, and with the 6 inches across the top, I scored at 1/2, and I did angle it, or I had the stub punch on the sides here. The piece that was 7 1/4 by 4 1/2 is a pocket. So I placed the 7 1/4 inches across the top, scored at 1/2 and at 7. And that's not true, sorry. I did a 1/2 on each end. So 1/2, turned it, did a 1/2. Placed the 4 1/2 inches across the top, scored it a 1/2. So just like any pocket, after you, I burnished and I cut off the corner at an angle on each bottom piece, and then I mitered the top. I'm going to go ahead and this will stay closed with a magnet, but I'm going to put the pocket to the right hand side, and then I'm going to place the flap here, and then there will be a magnet closure. So let's go ahead, and I'll just go ahead and glue that down. And all 3 sides here. I'm going to turn my book sideways and make sure it lines up. Don't want anything going over the top or the bottom. Get rid of the extra glue here. Now I did put M's here and here so that I remember don't cover it until you put a magnet on there. Okay, and then I'm just going to take this piece and place it like so. This looks like it's a hair. I'm going to trim that just a bit. Like I just did a hair. I don't know if I... Still feel like I need to do it again. And perfect. Okay, so now I got to redo my bottoms here. All right, let's go ahead and put glue on the 1/2. I'm going almost to the edge, not quite all the way, just about though. And making sure that it lines up with my pocket. All right. Now I'll be able to go back and do my pattern paper. And I will be putting magnets here and here so that it will stay closed. On the back cover, I wrote it down for you. Let's see. One that is 3 3/4 by 9, and 8 that are 3 1/4 by 4 1/2. So we're making that a pocket with a waterfall on top. To do your scoring, all of them that are 3 3/4 by 4, you're going to go ahead and place the did I say 4? It should be 4 1/2. Yeah, it says 4 1/2. Place the 4 1/2 inches across the top, score to half. Do that to all 8 pieces. Now you can do something with the corners if you want. I might just go ahead and do the stub because I did that on the front, and then there's kind of some follows, you know, kind of flows, I think. So I'm going to do that real quick. I use this punch quite a bit. I don't even know if they still make it, but almost there. Okay. Now the piece that measured 3 3/4 by 9 is the pocket, and we're going to lay the waterfall on top. So place the 3 3/4 inches across the top and score at 1/2. And then when you place the 9 inches across the top, you're going to score at 1/2 on each end. And just like the pocket we did previously, taper the edges here and miter here, cutting at an angle. And before I place it on the book, I am going to put my waterfall on. And so we're just going to lay these down like so. So I'm going to turn it sideways, and I'm going to bump it up against my scoreboard so I can hopefully line it up a little bit better. You do not miter or angle the 1/2 inch on waterfalls. Okay, and I'm going to bump it up against the top and the side. And I'll just go ahead and open that up. Okay. So now I'm just going to continue to add them, and I'm going to always bump them up against that 1/2 inch that we glued down. Okay, and we want to make sure we get it lined up as neat as possible. And it looks pretty good. Always lift it back up then and get rid of any glue, even though it dries clear, and give it a burnish. And we'll continue to do that until all 8 are done, and then we're going to place the pocket on the back cover. I'm trying to decide how I want to keep the waterfall closed. I haven't got that far. I don't know if I'm going to use a magnet. I don't know. I might use some sort of tie closure. But I'll have to decide before I attach it, because if I want to use a tie closure, I'll have to put the ribbon or whatever coming out of each end before I glue it down. Oh. But lining up real easy when you use your scoreboard as a guide. Push down there. Once these are cut, they go pretty quick. against the scoreboard, up against the 1/2 inch. 2 left. Okay. Push down. One more. And I'm still trying to decide how I want to close this. Just got my finger all glued up. Okay. Looks good. And I'm just going to go back and give it a good burnish so it's nice and flat. It is laying down pretty good. So what we're going to end up doing is placing this here, this pocket. And I think I'm going to do, I'll do a magnet closure. So I'm going to grab a piece. Let's see, that's too wide. I'll make this 1 1/4. Wait, I got one already cut. Let's see. Yep, that might not be long enough. Yeah, it is. Okay, so this is 1 1/4 by 6. Okay, 1 1/4 by 6. We're gonna go ahead and score just one end at 1/2. And this will be magnetic closure. There it is. And I'm going to just place this here. And I'm going to center it, and then I'll end up putting a magnet. And I might put the magnet so that it goes like this, so you can see the pattern, the decoration right there. Yep, that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to put a magnet on the top here and a magnet here. Now by doing that, I remember not to put my pattern paper on before I put the magnets on. So if you have the Tim Holtz ruler that does the centering, you can use that. I'm going to eyeball it. That will probably get me into trouble, but I'm going to do it that way anyway. I'm not that picky if it's not exactly perfect. That looks pretty good. Okay, and then that will stay closed. So let's go ahead. I'm trying to decide, do I want to glue it first or do I want to put pattern paper on first? I think I'm going to put pattern paper on first, and then I'll glue it down. So once I get the pages with the paper, I'll put glue on all 3 sides, and I will place that here. Okay, so remember, magnet on the top of this and magnet on behind the first page. Okay, I have done some pattern paper on the front cover. I did add the bus, and I added a little stopper here so I could put a matted or something for journaling. This pocket, I just put 2 of the cut aparts. I did fussy cut this and this. And then on the back, this is what it ended up looking like. I put 2 mats back here. I love this paper. When I did the green here, I did fussy cut some of this paper to put on there to give it a little pizzazz. I did go back and put strips of pattern paper or green dot paper from My Colors in between the pages. And then here's my waterfall. I did cover the back of this one, but the rest I didn't. I love those buses. And then all the backs are plain. Okay, so that's what I have done so far. Now let's go to page 1. We're going to do the front and the back. Okay, so we're doing front and back. Now, when I write down my measurements, a lot of times I put what my scoring is by just putting a line and then listing it. So that's what you see when you're looking at this. So for the front of the page 1, a 1.5 by 7, that's going to be a belly band. So we'll score it 1/2 on each end of the 7. We're going to need one that's 6 by 12. And on that 12-inch side, we'll be making 3 score marks, 1/2, 6.5, 6 5/8. One that's 4 5/8 by 3 1/8. And on the 4 5/8 side, we'll do a 1/2. And then finally 2 at 5 1/4 by 4 3/4. And on the 4 3/4 side, we'll score it a 1/2. The back of page 1, we'll just need 2 different sizes. We're going to do a pocket that's 3.5 by 4.5. So on the 3.5 inch side, we'll do scoring at 1/2 on each side. And on the 4.5 inch side, 1/2. Just one time, that'll be the bottom. Now, the reason why I say 2 3/8 by less than 6 is I just used scrap paper. So yours could be taller, shorter, doesn't matter. But I wanted to insert for the pocket, and being as the pocket will be 2.5 inches, I made that 2 3/8 inches wide, and then you can go as tall as you want, okay? So I've done my cutting and scoring, but I'll go ahead and show you. So there's that 6 by 12. I scored at, I ended up going back and doing another, did I do that? Oh yeah, I did. 1/2, 6.5, 6 5/8, so that you have a little bit of a gusset, so that when we put some paper on the inside, it'll give it some space. Here's my 7-inch piece that I scored at 1/2 on each end. That's going to be a belly band for this section right here. Then I have 2 that measure the 4 3/4 by 5 1/4, and you'll notice that I scored at 1/2. That's going to be a flap here. And then there's another one that's going to be underneath. So because it will be closed, I am going to have some seam binding tucked behind here, so that when we close this, I'm going to have this piece right here, and then that seam binding will come over, so this will be tied closed, okay? So let's go ahead and adhere what we can before we put it on the page. I'm going to start, I have my 1/2 inch scored to the back on my left-hand side, and I scored it at, so that this is what, 6 inches or close, let's see. Yep, this to the first score line is 6, so I want to center it by placing the center of my piece at 3. Okay, so I'll go ahead. You don't have to miter when you do this belly band because it's not going to the edge of a piece of paper, so you won't see if anything overlaps. Okay, tuck that under. Again, I'm just eyeballing it. I know that this has to be, this is 1.5, so I'll just kind of put it there and there. Okay, does it look straight? No. Okay, I can live with that. We'll burnish that. Then when you tuck mats in there, they won't fall out. Okay, and then when it's closed, you don't see that belly band. On the inside then, we're going to go ahead and place, now this one you're going to want a miter. You need scissors to do that, because it is going to go to the edge of the page. We don't want anything to show off to the side. So I'll do that on both of my flaps here. And it doesn't matter which one you put down first. but we do need to adhere some seam binding, and I'm just going to adhere it to this 1/2 inch piece. So I cut mine at about 10 inches. Okay. And I'm just going to, like I said, attach it. I'm going to go ahead and put a little bit of glue. Let's see, let me get my, this way. So let's see, 2.5. Half. Okay. And then I'll just take a little bit of score tape and place over the top just to make sure it stays. I'm going to go ahead and trim off that excess. Okay. So you don't want to forget the seam binding, otherwise you won't be able to tie this closed. Okay, so we're going to attach this. We're going to go all the way to the outside edge, not the inside. So I'm going to remove the backing of the score tape, and then I'll put glue on. Maybe. There we go. Okay. Line it up at the very end on the right. And I always have that wipe handy in case I have excess glue. And I'm going to flip it over. The other piece, we're going to do the same way. So I can kind of see, I can see where the score tape was. So I'm just going to use that as my guide. Okay. So wrinkled that I can't get it to lay flat. Let's see, that one's better. Get my score tape, just put a little piece on there. Remove the backing, and then we'll put the glue on. Now, I most likely will decorate this before I adhere it to my book. Oh, I did that backwards. Shoot, I wanted it coming out the other way. I want it this way. Whoopsie. Let me get another piece of score tape. It'll just be able to go around the edge a little bit better when I close it to tie it in the front. Okay. All the way to the edge. So then these go to the other side, and we're gonna go ahead, 10 inches was probably too much, but I'd rather have too much than not enough. And then I'm gonna take the piece that was 5 1/4 by 4 3/4. 4 3/4. Nope, that's not right. 3 1/2 by 4 1/2. Nope. Oh my gosh, I cut my pieces ahead of time. 3 1/8 by 4 5/8. Sorry about that. I didn't mean to be confusing. This one we don't have to miter because it's going to go in the center, and so you will not see any overhang. So I'm just going to go ahead. I'm going to eyeball the center. You can measure. Okay. And then what's going to happen is we will tie this way too long piece. Okay, so I'll go back and trim that. Didn't need nearly that much, but now on the other side, it's just really basic. The other two pieces, the 3 1/2 by 4 1/2, and then that 2 3/8 by whatever height you wanted. Because this is a pocket, you'll notice that there are 3 score marks. So when you place the short side across the top, it's 1/2 on each end. When you place the long side across the top, it's just 1/2 on one of the ends. Our pockets, we're going to go ahead and miter the top. And we're going to cut off that square in the bottom at an angle. We'll fold on the scores and burnish them. I thought being as this was a school book, this would become like a bookmark pocket. Nowadays, kids will say, "Can I borrow a sticky note?" And that's what they're using for their bookmarks. Okay, I'm going to put mine to the outside. So when I do that, I'm going to want to put my pattern paper on first, then I'll glue this down, and then that should slide in like so. And you can make it decorative on the top of this mat if you want. Okay, so I'm going to hold off on gluing this until I paper the base first. All right, and that's all we're going to do for the front and back of page 1. We are ready for page 2, the front and the back. The front page, we're going to need 2 that are 6 7/8 by 4. We're going to need 2 that are 1 1/4 by 8 1/2, and 1 that is 3 7/8 by 5 1/2. On the back, we'll just need 1 that is 7 7/8 by 3 1/2. And then we're going to make 2 little booklets, maybe 1, but I have the measurements for 2. 2 at 5 1/2 by 12. And then the 2 that are 10 1/2 by 5 1/4, I did a different color because it's going to be a little booklet. So I did the off-white. You can do them all the same color if you want. You could use typing paper or, letter paper, whatever. So that's what we're working with for page 2. All right, so let me get organized here. Okay, so then the 2 that are 6 7/8 by 4, you're going to put the 4 inches across this top and score it 1/2, and you're going to do that on both of them. On one of them, I did stub cut the bottom. I did angle my 1/2 inch. I tapered. On just one of them did I do the stub, though, because I don't really need it on the bottom. You can do it on both if you want. And then we're going to go ahead and burnish those. So these are going to be flaps. The bottom, and then the top I want to be, the top one I want to be over the bottom. And then we're going to make these little, I don't know, little not pockets, kind of like little belly bands in a way. and they're gonna go like so. We're gonna have 2 of them, and we're just gonna glue it to the top, and then we'll be able to slide a mat in there, okay, like so. So I did 1 of them. 2 of them, it said at 1 1/4 by 8 1/2. You're just going to score at on the 8 1/2 inch at half, and then 4 1/2. So put the 8 1/2 inches across the top, half, and 4 1/2 on both of them. Go ahead and burnish. And you want to make sure that they line up when you fold that half over, because you're going to end up gluing them and you want them to line up. So kind of guide it with your bone folder. Okay, we are going to glue those together. I already did 1. This is the second one. Okay. Now with this, we are going to have to put, we can cover these with paper first. This one also, because you don't want to attach this until this has the pattern paper. And then we're going to evenly space them out like so. Okay, to me it kind of looks like a backpack in a way. And then the inside will just be a large area to put pictures. Okay, so that's all for the front. Again, paper this, and then you're just going to glue the top half to the top. Do not put any glue on the bottom, otherwise it won't open. The back of this one, and the piece that I said was 3 7/8 by 5 1/2 is for the mat to go to slide in. Oopsie. So that it'll look like so you can kind of look to see how far apart you want them, like so. And you can even do decorative corners if you want on those. Okay, so that is the front of page 2. On the back of page 2, we're just doing a pocket with a little booklet. So the pocket piece is 7 7/8 by 3 1/2. So score on the 7 7/8 inch side at half on each end. On the 3 1/2 inch, score to half. So you have score marks on 3 sides. The regular pocket, so cut off the square in the corner at a diagonal. Angle. And burnish. Okay. And then once we put that on the back, or right here at the bottom, we want 2 little booklets to put inside. Okay, so you'll glue that to the back. The booklets, you're just going to score the papers in half. So the 2 pieces that are 5 1/2 by 12, put the 12 inches across the top and score at 6. And then burnish them. Make sure they line up before you burnish. Do that to both pieces. And then the 2 that I did at a different color, those are just scored in half also. So they're 5 1/4 by 10 1/2. I just scored at 5 1/4. Folded them in half. So they're just going to be little booklets, like so. And I want it, you know what, if you don't like, maybe I want it cut a little bit down. Maybe that's a little bit too much. I might trim that just a hair. But anyway, to keep those in, I'm just going to get some baker's twine and put it in the center. And then I'm going to tie them in a bow. Try and get it in the center. I don't tie very well. My hands just don't, I can't get them tight enough. I need another pair of hands. Okay, and that will be the little booklet, and I'll just slide it in like so. You can do one or you can do two. It's up to you. Okay, and that's all we're going to do for page 2. I decided to go ahead and mimic this page on the front of page 3. So the directions for this are the same exact directions as the back of page 2. So for the front of page 3, go back and do a 7 7/8 by 3.5. And I had you make 2 booklets the first time, and I just stuck another booklet on the other pocket, or in the other pocket. So then what I did on the back of page 3 is I loved this paper so much that I just left it flat. Just left it the way it is. And, you know, maybe I'll paper clip something on there at the top, but I just wanted to display that paper. So we're ready for page 4. Let me get my measurements. So for the front of page 4, you're going to need 2 that are 4 by 10 and 2 that are 3 by 1. I'm using the 3 by 1s as little hinges. You're going to need 1 at 6 by 3.5 and 1 that is 4.5 by 10. Now the back of page 4, I just used this Graphic 45 die that's a pocket, and I made 3 of them. And I'm going to overlap them like so on the back of page 4, and then just put little tags in there. So if you don't have the Graphic 45 die, you can just make any kind of pocket that you want. So let's go ahead and get started with the front of page 4. All right, let me move this out of the way. So you'll have 2 of them that are 4 by 10. And all you need to do is at the halfway mark with the 10 inches across the top, score at 5. Turn it so the 4-inch side is at the top, and you're going to score at half and again at 3.5. And this is going to make our pocket. Now, the 3 by 1, place the 1 inch at the top and score it through half. Okay. The one that measured 4.5 by 10, just score that at 5 so that it's in half. And the piece that is 6 by 3.5, put your 3.5 inches across the top, and you're going to score at half and at 5/8 so that you have a little bit of a gusset. Okay. All right. So let's start putting things together. Let's see. What do I want to do? It might be smarter now that I have this to put the pattern paper on it. So I'll put pattern paper on the front and on the inside, and then I'm going to glue this piece on top, only it's going to be on this side. So the 1/2 inch gusset will be on the right, and then I'm going to glue this little flappy-doo on top, like so. And then it will lift up, and then when you turn the page, you can just glue if you want the 3 sides so that you could stick a tag in here, and maybe I'll do that. So let me show you again. I need to cover the paper. So do this after you've covered the paper. Go ahead and attach this after it's covered to the far end on the right. This will be attached so that it opens going up. If you want, you can just put glue on 3 sides so that it will form a pocket on the back. Okay, like so. Then when this opens, you're going to have 2 pocket flips that open like this. Okay. To make the pocket, the one that we, let's go ahead and burnish the 3x1. And when I'm going to angle these, I'm not going to go straight to the corner. I'm going to leave, look how dirty my hands are from the paper. I leave just a hair. I don't go all the way to the corner. I leave a little bit of a gap there. Okay, so it'll look like that when it's done. For the envelope, at the 5-inch mark, I'm going to cut part of this 1/2-inch side off. So I'm going to cut at an angle to the score, cut up to the score at an angle, and then I'm going to get rid of these 2 1/2-inch pieces. And I'm going to do that in my scoreboard because I don't cut straight. Okay, so it'll look like that. I might have to go back. I didn't get that all the way straight. Much better. Okay, so then we're going to burnish those sides. I did not do that very well. Okay. Ugh. It's wonky. Fold it in half and make sure everything lines up nice. And then you're going to want to do a little thumb hole. I just used the 3/4 inch. And I'm eyeballing it in the center. And we're going to put a cut at the top so that we can glue it without having anything show, overhang. So I mitered those top 2 corners. And now I'm just going to glue that closed. So let me get my glue. Both sides. And fold it over. Give it a good burnish. Okay, so this will be the front or the top, and I'm going to turn it over, and I do need to put that little hinge that we cut. I'm going to attach that at the bottom. So make sure it's the same width. Mine's a hair off. I still think it is. There we go. Just put glue on one side. All the way to the end. I'm going to open it up and burnish it. And you'll do 2 of those. So after I decorate them, I'm going to put glue on the 1/2 inch, and I'm going to glue it almost to the end of the almost to the edge. You want a little bit of space so that your pages open and close nice. Okay, and it should line up so that you have a top and a bottom. Ooh, that's perfect. How'd that happen? Okay, so I'll glue those, and then I'm going to attach this piece that has this little flap on it. Okay, so I'm going to do that after I do my pattern paper. And then again on the back, you're just taking 3 pockets and we're overlapping them. And you'll have to play with it a little bit to make sure you do it evenly. Like so. Okay. All right, I'll come back and show you after I have it decorated. I covered all of my pieces with pattern paper, so I thought I'd come back on and show you how to adhere it. It's pretty basic. This flap, I'm going to attach this to. Now I have to decide if I just want to go on 3 sides, and I think I do. I think it would be nice to kind of have that extra little pocket there. So I'm just going to add glue to 3 sides. Kind of about the same height there. Okay, and it looks like about right here. Give it a good burnish so it stays. Okay, I might put a clip on it just for a little bit. All right, while that's drying, here are the 2 pocket flaps. This one I put 1, 2, 3 on. I don't know if it's easy to see that or not. And then this one here, and I have to make sure that they butt up against each other real close. Okay, and I still need to put something inside. I'll probably just do a plain color. Something like that maybe, I don't know. Okay, so now I just need to put glue on the 1/2 inch. And it's got to go all the way to the bottom here. Otherwise, they won't fit side by side. And get rid of that glue. Okay, and I might turn this upside down just so it's easier to put on here. Yeah, that was tight. Okay. Glue. Make sure they're the same height over here. All right. Now I'll put this flap on right here because I can't put the pattern paper on until these little 1/2 inch pieces are glued down. And I'm going to turn it this way. Hopefully it'll dry clear. Now I'm gonna put this right here. Oh my gosh, that's cute. I already inked it. And then I'll just have to do the cover with you. Still thinking that one through a little bit. Add a couple tags here and there. Sure, let's go down. Yep. And burnish. If I can, there it is. Alrighty. And then that'll open. Stick something here. Let's see. I think I still have a cut apart. Yeah, I have this one. This one's probably too big though. Yeah, it is. I guess I could just cut out. Nope, that would still be too big. What do I want to do? Well, for right now, I'll just stick that here so I remember that that is an opening. So I'll just stick that there so I remember. I feel like it needs a little something right here. Let me get the cutout or the cut aparts here. And let's see, here's one with a bus. That one might be too vintage though. Let's see. I'll just do this one. I love this design. Yep. Ink. And I won't glue it all the way down so it can become a tuck spot. So just maybe the bottom and a little bit on the side. Okay, and then that can have something tuck inside of there. What do I want to put in here? For right now, I'll just put, I'll cut these at 6. That one's 6, the other one's not. And do I have another one? What did I measure this one as? 2.5. It could have been a little bit wider. Let's see. And then I could put something up here so you could tell that it's a pull. Let me see. What do I have? What do I have? I guess. Okay, so I gotta find the cover sheet. So there's these little ones that I could use and put right there. And I think that's what I'll do. I'll cut 2 of them out and just put them here so that it's easy to pull out. Okay. Now we did make a 1/8 inch gusset here, so it's still a little floppy. I mean, it still sticks up a little bit. Now on this back side, I did only do 2 pockets. 3 didn't turn out right. So then they can just have something sticking out of there like that. Okay. And now I will just do the cover. So you'll notice we still haven't done this side because we have to add magnets. And the book will be like this when we see it. And then it'll be like a back, well, the goal is to make it like a backpack, and then it opens up to the side like so. Okay. All right. So now it's just a matter of doing the cover. I already put the book together, and then I realized I should probably tell you about the back, even though it looks self-explanatory, but I wanted to make sure I let everybody know how I did that. So if this was the back of the book, I just took a piece of the ribbon and I glued it down like this before I put down the paper. And then if you want, you can put tape to keep it down flatter. So then I did that first, and then I took this and I did about 1 inch over, glued it down, and then I cut, the other piece goes, I better cut it just to show you. So I glued it like this, and then at the bottom the same way. So it's easy to stick the paper on when you're ready to mat. So I did that on each side, about 1 inch from the side. So I glued it, and then you can put tape to kind of flatten it down. So I did a walkthrough of the finished product of the project, but let me just show you real quick while I have it here. This is what the book looks like when it's done. Looks like a little backpack. So go ahead and check out the walkthrough. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate. Give me throw a question down there in the description, or not the description box, the comments below.